Elden Ring curved greatswords. Would they be great swords in real life? Starting with Dismounter, I initially wanted to say, no, that's too big to be a sword, you know, like I do. Pretty much because the amount of lever that it gives you to hold onto the sword wouldn't really let you handle that long of a blade that's probably relatively heavy. However, the bottom part of the blade is wrapped in leather. And that's kind of similar to what we've seen in some larger greatswords like the Zweihander or the Claymore. And that's to essentially give you a different area to put your hand, so it gives you a longer lever, so this would definitely work in real life. And next, the Omen Cleaver, and I have looked at in-game pictures of this, and yeah, it's too big to use. It's just way too top-heavy for that small lever, and it doesn't have much redeeming qualities. The Monk's flameblade, however, seems smaller, and if it's used two hands, I think that it would definitely be feasible. And the flameblade aspect kind of reminds me of the flamberge aspect of other swords. You know, that wavy blade pattern. And there were a number of reasons for that. The initial reason was they thought that a thrust would be more lethal, because that would hurt more. However, they found that the main advantage that it had was it was weird to parry against. Like normally when two swords connect, they just connect and slide up and down. But when you're parrying a flamberge blade, it goes all weird, and that just feels weird to an opponent, and is one of those things that throws people off. And sometimes that's all the advantage that you would need in order to win a fight. The Beastmans Cleaver is way too big to be a sword. I find it interesting how it's broken on the front. It doesn't have an actual sharpened blade part. That part seems to be long ago broken off. However, it does seem to have a bit of an angled bevel and might be sharpened. It's an interesting idea, but they should just sharpen it more. Still wouldn't work though. The Bloodhound Spang is really interesting to me because it's essentially a slightly stylized two-handed yetaghan. Maybe with a little coppice or cookery thrown in there, but it seems quite feasible. It would have solid cutting potential, and hitting with that tip during a swing would cause a lot of penetration. So could definitely work as a sword. The Onyx Lord's Greatsword is quite big, however it's not too drastically different than if we had an axe, because the blade's pretty thin. So I could see picking it up and swinging it down type of thing, or using its momentum slower than other swords that would be more feasible, but could work. And the Zamora curved sword would be a similar thing. You know, it could work if you're using it two-handed and you're not too worried about skill. But it is larger and would be more difficult to wield. So it's getting close to that standard berserk line. The Magma wyrm scalesword is too large. I mean, I've also seen game footage of this, and if it were made of steel, it would be way too heavy. However, it's not made of steel, and it is covered in sharpened scales, so it's kind of difficult to actually know how heavy it would be. I mean, if this thing were as heavy as steel, it'd be unusable. If this thing were as heavy as cardboard and sharpened, it'd be usable. It's probably somewhere in between there, but it's difficult to say with a made-up video game material. Morgott's cursed sword. I'm just kidding, it's Margot, right? Anyway, two-handed would definitely be a thrusting sword. Doesn't look like it really has too much of a sharpened edge, so it would be better for bonking in real life. But, you know, magic makes everything better, so yeah. But it wouldn't really work as a sword in real life. However, it would work as a club with a spear on it, or a spear type thing.